classic whodunit, a gothic love story, a ghostly sea captain, and a family that are the epitome of insanity. These are 5 old Hollywood films that you need to add to your spooky season watch list. Coming in at number 5 is Rasputin. Although I have a personal love for Tom Baker's portrayal of the Mad Monk, in this film, Christopher Lee's performance is perfect for spooky season. Rasputin is a Hammer House Horror Collection film, and this portrayal is very much creepy and disturbing, leaning more into the haunting characteristics of the real Rasputin. It is one of the top Hammer House Horror films produced, demonstrating Lee's potential and his skills within the acting sphere. Many people will know Lee from other films, but this portrayal of Rasputin is very much unmatched within the horror sphere. Wuthering Heights comes in at number 4. This is the classic Gothic love story, and the 1939 edition with Laurence Olivier brings such a beautiful adaptation of the book to film. The black and white of the 1939 edition allows for the Gothic theme to come to the forefront. The film itself brings the Yorkshire moors and the Brontes to life. Within the film, Laurence Olivier gives an amazing performance of Heathcliff. It is difficult to compare this 1939 adaptation to any of the other adaptations. While culture has very much focused on the new adaptation coming out in 2026, this old Hollywood classic cannot be ignored. If you want a true adaptation of Wuthering Heights that isn't overly long to sit through, this one is absolutely perfect, especially for the spooky season. I could not possibly talk about old Hollywood without mentioning Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant. So, of course, number 3 is Charade. Charade is the old Hollywood thriller. The age gap with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn is very clear. However, the plot triumphs over this controversy. Within the plot, everyone is suspicious, including Cary Grant. You cannot ignore anyone within the entire plot. Whenever you're watching it and you think you have an idea of who it is, the film completely alters your thoughts. For me, that is the perfect thriller. It of course has its own little quirks to it, and one of my favourite lines within this film is when Audrey Hepburn is talking to Cary Grant and she points to his chin dimple and asks him, "How do you shave in there?" For me, that chemistry is amazing, and very much ignoring that age gap, it comes through how good their chemistry is together on screen. Charade marks the only time that Hepburn and Grant work together. Despite this, it is such an amazing thriller. It is a definite must-watch this spooky season. Number 2 marks one of the most beautiful love stories portrayed in an old Hollywood film, and it is a personal favourite of mine. It is The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. The Ghost and Mrs. Muir starts with a haunted house and a sea captain that will not let anyone live in his house. Except, of course, for Mrs. Muir and her daughter. Mrs. Muir and the sea captain start to form this friendship, and eventually you can start to see the chemistry between them. There's absolutely no intimacy whatsoever between the two, and yet the chemistry completely makes up for this. This is something that I love about old Hollywood films. If they are done right, there is no need for such intimacy as what we would see in film nowadays. The chemistry in the talking, the interactions, the contact, the jokes should all come to the forefront to build the chemistry without any physical intimacy. Rex Harrison's performance in this film really just makes it. I love Rex Harrison in My Fair Lady, and to see him once again playing such a grumpy character is phenomenal. It is a part that he does so well. To see it in The Ghost of Mrs. Muir really just shows how good Rex Harrison was as an old Hollywood actor. Along with this, I personally think one of the most amazing things about this film is the ending. I was warned before I went into it that the ending is absolutely unmatched. It is phenomenal and beautiful, and watching it for the first time, you see this completely. The music, the ending scene, which of course I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, it is just so unmatched to anything else in old Hollywood. And if you are going to watch this, I highly recommend that you appreciate that ending for what it is. And again, there is no intimacy, it is still that lasting chemistry between the two characters. The Ghost and Mrs. Muir is definitely a must-watch for this spooky season. Last but not least, my ultimate film recommendation from old Hollywood. For spooky season, I never really associated old Hollywood with spookiness, especially with some of the actors that I love within the old Hollywood realm. When I heard that Cary Grant gave a perfect comedy performance in what is meant to be a spooky film, I had to see it. So number one belongs to Arsenic and Old Lace. My first time watching this film was an experience, to say the least. Throughout the film, you end up almost questioning your own sanity as well as the sanity of the characters within the household as well. And throughout the film, you find yourself making many of the faces that Cary Grant does within the film. We have a brother who believes he is Teddy Roosevelt, aunts who put old men, in their words, out of their loneliness and misery, a bride who is desperate for a honeymoon at Niagara Falls, another insane brother and his doctor friend, along with the 12 bodies in the basement, but the 13th body is not the aunt's. Now, if that sounds confusing, it definitely is, and the whole film itself is confusing, but it is such a good watch. While we do have Cary Grant that completely makes the film, there are two old Hollywood horror actors that star in this. We have Boris Karloff and Peter Lorre. So some of you might recognise those names from the Frankenstein film. And in this, these two are their own characters. However, if you recognise Boris Karloff's face, Throughout the entire film, you're told that he is not Boris Karloff, which again really makes you feel like you're going utterly insane. Peter Lorre's actual description is used towards the end of the film, from the 5'3" to the eyes, and also his accent as well. All of it is used to make you once again go, but that is Peter Lorre, but they're saying it's not Peter Lorre. For me, the audience knowing that it is Boris Karloff, but completely insisting throughout that it isn't, to the stage where the character that Boris Karloff plays gets annoyed and angry at anyone who compares him to Boris Karloff. It is a complete and utter confusion, but it is so enjoyable to watch. And we of course have the argument with Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo, and whether they are going to get buried together, because the aunts don't want that to happen. But Jonathan, who is played by Boris Karloff, or is it Boris Karloff, ends up getting into a whole argument with the aunts because he wants him buried with them. It is very confusing. It is just utter insanity for almost 2 hours, but it is such a feel-good spooky film to watch from old Hollywood. So there are 5 old Hollywood recommendations for you for this spooky season. Which ones will you be watching? Which ones have you already watched? And are there any that I should definitely add to my spooky list? Make sure that you let me know below. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.